All right, next topic. It's possible that next week a judge will order the state to stop keeping tabs on convicted child molester Billy Lee Morford, who now lives in a state-rented Milwaukee home. The state says not even one of the 7 psychologists that have been hired to examine him will say that there's a good chance this animal would reoffend. I don't think the state has tried hard enough to find the right psychologist. Joel, I know you're the only person on this panel who's met
regularly stands up for these folks
and has met and talked with Billy Lee Morford.
Actually, I have not.
You have not?
I've talked with other
That's
sexual predators. Yeah.
That's right.
I think it's. Good God, how much can we hate this guy?
Not enough.
And if in fact, we hire 7 psychologists, do we have to go for 14 or we go for 15? Does anyone really want expert testimony, or are they just looking to get the answer that they want? And they ran through 7 psychologists trying to keep the guy locked up. He has served his sentence. There are these experts that say it's not likely he will reoffend. And as a matter of fact, there are many more dangerous people in this community than Billy Lee Morford. If there's anybody in this community that has people keeping an eye on him all the time, it's Billy Lee Morford. There are people living across the street from every one of those people who hate Billy Lee Morford that are more dangerous than Billy Lee Morford to their families. There absolutely is. Most child abuse and sexual assault takes place within families. It takes place from someone that the child knows. This idea of this guy, this boogeyman that the media created, is a danger to this community. The man is dying. And I just think it's at some time, let it go. Let it go. You don't have to keep demonizing this guy.
I would like to see them lock these people up forever, every single one of them, Kevin, except Joel has a great point every time this comes up, that the lawmakers created the laws. This guy fulfilled the requirements of the laws. Now they're saying we should not let him go.
Well, the law also says that if there is a danger of any sex predator reoffending after he has served his time, that you can keep him beyond his time. And that's what we're doing with Billy Lee Morford. The law says that he can be held under supervision. When we say he's locked up...
They now have 7 experts that say no.
When we say, yeah, that's a joke. When we say that he's locked up, he's not really locked up. He's not behind bars. He's living in a house under state supervision. Yeah, what supervision? There was a time this past year where we found out that for a period of 18 months, he was going back and forth between his northwest side Milwaukee home to Franklin. And by law, you're supposed to notify all the communities he goes through, and the state, under Governor Doyle, failed to live up to that obligation. I find it incredible that the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office can't find any medical expert to say that this guy is dangerous when there is a mountain of evidence that says these guys can't be rehabilitated, they can't be cured, their recidivism rate is very high, and I don't buy the fact that he is dying. We've been following this case for a long time in our office at the state capitol. We heard years ago that he was feeble and on his last leg and so forth. Well, apparently not. If he's well enough to be released into the community, and I don't feel as sorry for him as Joel does. I feel sorry for the communities who have no idea now that this case has been delayed until next Tuesday. The Judge Jeff Wagner will have no recourse but to let him go because the district attorney's office is thrown in a towel, wave it there. Yeah, we can't do anything about it. Can't find any. Well, they're incompetent. If they can't find medical people to say that this guy's sick and is going to reoffend, then they're incompetent. And I feel sorry for the neighborhoods who will not know he's going to be released unannounced, and nobody knows where he's going to be. And I feel sorry if he does reoffend. Then I want to know what the judge and what the DA's office is going to say to the family of those kids if he does reoffend, and I think he will.
Kathleen, it is kind of bizarre because a defense attorney, you can find an expert to say anything you want them to say. For the state to say, we can't find a psychologist to say this guy is dangerous anymore, I think it's absurd.
Well, maybe he isn't dangerous anymore. I mean, I have to believe that if you have that many psychologists, the guy, as Joel said, he's sick. They don't think he's going to live more than a year. Psychologists have said that, doctors have said that he's a sick guy. He's not well. On the other hand, I have real problems with this whole issue. You know, when Joel talked about most of these cases take place inside families, I wish society would take on that aspect of this issue. I don't have any tolerance for these people at all, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if prison is the right place for them because it's a real psychological disturbance, and once you're released, you're right, Kevin, the rate of recidivism is very, very high. It's just really a hard thing to treat. And it's rampant in our society. And we demonize this one guy, as Joel said, but it's happening within families at a rate that none of us want to admit that it's happening. It is a very big issue in our society that damages people for their lifetimes.
And Joel says the media created him. No. This is a dangerous guy. He's one of the worst in the world.
I don't think he is anymore. I don't think he is anymore.
He is a 4-time convicted pedophile. That's 4 times that we know about. This is not some media creation. This is a real serious threat to society.
What's wrong with demonizing all these guys?
Well, they have been demonized.
Nothing.
And
not just guys. We had a nun a couple of weeks ago too.
It's
Remember?
rare, but women do it too.
What we have are laws that are inadequate to address the Morford case specifically, pedophiles in general. We have medical experts that are inadequate in addressing this, medicine that's inadequate in addressing this. And I don't know that we've given proper attention to how we're going to re-examine it, because what we've done is we waited until the conversation pops up around Morford or someone else who's just as heinous before we even have any kind of conversation about it. It takes place when someone's about to be reintroduced into the community. When that threat seems to be over, then we go back to the comfort of resting on inadequate laws and inadequate medicine, or inadequate psychology for that matter. So the best thing the legislature could do is go back and redo these laws. If what we really want is to have someone incarcerated for life after 2 times pedophile commitment, that's what we need to have. If it's after once, that's what we need to have. That's not what we have now.
But we do have a lock him up for life for first-degree sexual assault of a child. We passed that law in the last session, so it's very new. Hasn't been used, I don't think, at all in this
by
state.
the judges, right?
But you know, you run the risk of, you know, well, you have the other side, and it's been presented here. Well, no, he served his time. He's sick. He just needs help. If you just give him treatment, he'll be okay. He's 60 years old. He's going to die within a year. You come up with all these mamby-pamby excuses for the pedophile, and I say, no, I'd rather err on the side of protecting the public.
Shouldn't all the hatred we direct at Morford also be directed at the family members that you talk about?
Absolutely. I think the issue is a serious issue. I agree with Kathleen.
That we should lock them up too.
Well, but you can't lock up everybody in the world, but you do need to confront this issue and figure out how to deal with it. And that's the problem. I mean, you can't just say lock everybody up and throw away the key. I mean, we've said that about crime forever, in all different kinds of other crimes as well, and it doesn't begin to approach the problems. This is a serious problem. Don't get me wrong. I've never claimed that it wasn't. It's a serious problem, but I do think that the media picks out these certain people, make them like the boogeyman of the year, as if we keep this one pathetic individual behind bars, then this issue is dealt with, and it absolutely is not dealt with. And I don't see anyone seriously confronting
if Billy Lee Morford is on his deathbed and is going to die within the next year, then what is the harm of keeping him under state supervision in that Northwest
for the remainder of the year?
I see nothing wrong with that. But instead, the state, in its infinite wisdom, is going to let the guy out, and we're not going to say where he is, and who knows what could happen.
If he's so sick, why not lock him up in a state hospital for the last year?
Why not?
Because psychologists say he's not.
Well, okay.
That's the problem. Yeah, you can't have Kevin decided who gets locked up. You know, we've gone to some experts, and they went through 7 of them to try to find somebody that would say lock this guy up.
I would suggest that they cheated on their medical exams or their quacks, because if they think Billy Lee Morford is safe, then they ought to move in next to those doctors. He ought to move into those guys.
A lot of district attorneys are afraid that if this law goes away, that the people will be automatically released to the community.
That's a serious
hear that all the time.
And I wonder if that's behind. Well, we can't find a psychologist to say this guy is still sick because they want to keep that law in place.
Well, I think that is right, but you know, it's a fallacy, because they can find someone, but this DA's office, which has a track record.
Don't blame the DA. I mean,
they're the ones
They're
the ones who are responsible for going into court saying, can't find anybody to say he's bad. Well, you know,
you can't find anybody to say he's bad. They brought 7 experts in, and they all said,
Well, then
No.
they should have looked harder. That is my opinion.
But common
That they
sense
didn't
tells
look
us
harder.
something
One that
very
gives you the opinion you want. You are supposed to rely on their expert
4
judgment.
times a repeat offender, and it almost makes me think of just how sly the Grinch is when he convinces, Cindy Lou Who that he's not going to take their presents. This guy is a conniver. And why would we want to release him back into a community where he's going to be an offender again?
Because he's going to die.
A lot of time
Come
on
on,
this
where's
one
your heart?
guy.
He's going to die.
All right, refresh my memory, though. Who was the guy you interviewed for the Shepherd a few years ago?
Who was the
It
guy
wasn't
you took
Morford.
out to
Who was
lunch
that?
and interviewed and put a medal on?
You're turning on me here in public, and I can't.
Halloween killer.
I was.
Who was that guy?
The
It was-
Halloween killer.
Yeah.
Turner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turner.
Yes.
All right.
Gerald Turner.
All right, next topic.
This video clip has been brought to you by BadgerBlogger.com.